Welcome back, NoDQ Galaxy, to a brand new edition of the NoDQ Review number 240. I am Virtue, the moderator, here on time. The back is on fire, but I'm doing this for you, NoDQ Galaxy. This week's elite panel is, of course, Aaron Rift, JJ Williams, and Jeff Meacham now with a sling. It's like I think these injuries are contagious. Jeff Meacham, what's going on? I'll start with you.
It's an epidemic. It's not quite a pandemic because it hasn't gone globally, but it's an epidemic amongst the NoDQ galaxy. Yeah, people know I was in a car accident in early May on May 4th, and the animated as I got last Tuesday with the cursed episode of the NoDQ review, I threw my shoulder back out. I didn't acknowledge it until the weekend. So now we're back in the sling because the doctor says I was too excited on Tuesday apparently and threw it back out. So there you go.
So, all right, it's going to be interesting to see what you do when you talk and your
right.
fans. So,
yeah.
Stay tuned, NoDQ Galaxy. Try to ask Jeff or do super chats that are going to get Jeff excited, that are going to force him to use his hands.
Just send a super chat about how great Hulk Hogan is, or something controversial about Hulk Hogan that Jeff can argue.
So this will be fun to see how this plays out. JJ, welcome back. What's going on, man?
It's another day here in sunny Southern California. Been kind of crazy myself here with all the content that I've been producing, that I've been on the last few days. Starting to feel like Noah Foster. You know, 2 simple takes, open mic night, did a thing for James Hebert's channel earlier today, and now I'm here with y'all to discuss the topics aplenty that we have tonight.
Oh, yeah, this show wrote itself. I mean, it was we're going to talk about 1,000 days. The Bloodline implosion continues. CM Punk and Collision. And I got a nice little other topic I think that'll pique the interest of some people in the NoDQ Galaxy tonight. So, JJ, welcome aboard for this evening. And, of course, over to Aaron. What's up?
I'm doing good. It's sunny here in Michigan. It's been sunny. It's been very California-like. Josh Mansfield, shout out to him. Last week he was on the cursed episode of the NoDQ review, and maybe Josh is partly to blame for Jeff re-aggravating his shoulder. Like Josh was cutting in and out, and what?
Considering the super chat that he sent us, it probably was rubbing it in as always.
Hey Jeff and Aaron, woo woo woo, you know it. Is that supposed to be a reference to 2016 when we had to shave our heads?
Yes, I think every time he mentions Matt Cardona or Zack Ryder in a super chat, he should super chat the amount of a haircut.
All right. Well, he's trying to get you animated. Just
especially in California.
Keep tweeting, keep super chatting, keep sending private messages. Do whatever it takes to antagonize Jeff tonight, and we'll see if he can re-aggravate it even more. It'll make for good entertainment, you know.
I will go Bob Orton and pull out some sort of weird object out of here and smack Mansfield on the head with this thing, I swear.
Ooh, that could be interesting. But anyways, I'm looking forward to tonight. Tuesday was truly cursed, but I think this week we are going to be able to get through it without too many issues. Walter Cruz is here. He sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Walter. Says, Jeff, applaud if you like working for the mouse. Do nothing if you don't. If you don't, what are you going to do? LOL.
Yeah, I'm applauding.
There he is, technically.
This
would be like if I was in the same room as Jeff, I'd throw a basketball at him and see what he'd do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That would be fun.
Instant death. I'd fall back and hit something else and make it worse. That's going to be a long show.
Maybe not. We got three big topics. We got just 4 of us tonight. So, Aaron, are we ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
Topic number 1. So, finally, we know that CM Punk will be returning to AEW at Collision in Chicago at the United Center. What day is that? June what, Aaron? I'm bad with dates when it's non-work stuff.
17th.
That's coming up 17th. So there you go. There you have it. We're going to see how this show plays out. I'm sure it's going to start off hot. I mean, the first Rampage was with CM Punk, but it fizzled from there. I think this could be an interesting thing for AEW. I don't know exactly what they're going to do with the rosters, but if you still have a party that does not like Punk, or, you know, a group that's not going to be at that show, and Punk is going to be running this Collision show, I'd like to see like how good it is versus Dynamite. I mean, we may no longer be talking about, hey, Dynamite's better than Raw or this or that. We're going to be probably talking about some internal conflict here with AEW, which shows better on a weekly basis, Dynamite or Collision. And I'm telling you, I'm interested in this, and I'm all about CM Punk being back. So JJ Williams, it's official. Whatever they did, whatever Tony Khan, he worked his magic. They're promoting it. Punk's going to be there. Any thoughts on what might go down? I think they're going to avoid any of the controversial stuff, but we will see. What's your thoughts? We knew this was going to happen, right? We just had that gut feeling. Tony Khan made that official.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that CM Punk is coming back. I've been a firm supporter of his for quite a long time. I was talking with some buddies about this earlier on today, and I discovered that pretty much everybody involved in Brawl Out is ready to sit down, ready to talk, ready to work, ready to move on. So I don't know how much internal strife there's going to be, but I do feel like it'll present that friendly competition if they do try to keep the Elite and Punk separated, and Collision does better ratings than Dynamite. Talking earlier about how they should have just announced that Punk was clear to return once his injury was done when they allowed the Elite to come back, so it didn't look like any kind of favoritism was being played. But aside from all that, I think it's a good move by Tony. He realizes that the ratings and everything need CM Punk. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Saturday night's an interesting time slot to try to have weekly wrestling, but it's not the first time.
No.
Is it like their So do they have like their Raw and SmackDown now? Because Collision is going to be a 2-hour show, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like Rampage where it's just like, I'm telling you, man, this is like another WWE type thing here. And especially if they have different wrestlers on them. I know it's not a traditional brand split, but boy, if I'm interested to see how Collision's going to play out and see if there's any type of different feel to the show versus Dynamite. If Punk's involved with it a lot, he's very conscious of what he does. So that's going to be interesting to see if it does seem different.
I'm hoping that there is. You figure all the talent that is on the AEW roster, and we still see the same, we'll say 25 to 30 people every week. With Collision, they need to start diving into the rest of the talent pool and getting some of those people exposure. Yep. Yeah, I think that's going to be the big thing. And I think Punk's going to try to pull for some of that.
It's going to happen this month, couple of weeks.
And we'll be calling it on the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media. We're going to be doing a watch-along for the first episode.
And we'll talk about it on the review following. So, Jeff Meacham.
I'm glad JJ segued into it because I actually sent Aaron the graphic for it.
Wait, Jeff, I time out before you start here.
Yes, sir.
I'm having a brain. I haven't seen Punk for so long. What is his taunt? What taunt does he do before he does his finisher, the go to sleep? Can you show me? Because I can't remember what it is. I know the NoDQ Galaxy is not going to be able to tell me by the chat. So can you remember what it was? Because it's been so long.
I actually tried doing that the other day with a sling on. It was a pain in the ass, but I'll try. See if I can.
Wait.
There you go. There you go. Oh, God.
Well, that's one. Okay. That's one. The X, but doesn't he do another one before his finishing move sometimes?
Oh,
does he still do the?
I should do that with one hand. No, yeah, thank you, JJ.
Okay,
thank you, JJ.
I tried. NoDQ Galaxy, I tried to get you to do that, but thanks for being a good sport. All right, thoughts here on CM Punk Collision. It's
again. AEW handed us a ready-made stack Saturday of a watch-along. We've got Collision, we've got our second game night, which is going to be match game, and we've got the open mic night. So thank you, Tony, for there you go. There it is right there. That's all on one Saturday night beginning at 8 o'clock. And, again, we mentioned Saturday nights being an odd day or maybe an odd time slot, but prime time on Saturday, 8 o'clock is not the worst thing. If you watch, on the West Coast like we do for TNT, then 5 o'clock seems early. But hell, we were watching WWE Saturday Night at 3:05 p.m. out here for years and years. So, look, it's we kept talking about him, and you know, we made a pact on open mic night to not talk about it unless it was super chatted about. By the way, Aaron, for reference to Colin's chat here, my niece threw Dylan's mom that was on XMV toward the end, sitting with me in one of the shots we did at her mom's house. Graduated high school this last week, if you can believe that shit.
Oh, nice.
Long time. But anyway, we've all been kind of dancing around Punk, right? Because we didn't know. There was no official confirmation. And then Collision kept being brought up, and then it was in Chicago. It's like, okay, when are they going to announce it? And they did. And it seems to be getting a fairly positive reaction from the internet, at least that I've observed. Maybe I don't follow the right negative people. I don't know. But I'm happy he's back because of business. However you feel about the way he approached the situation, you know, after a year of the company, and I wasn't a fan of it. Punk's good for business. And much like the company he came from always says, whatever's best for business should win out. And hopefully there can be peace made. And I like Radnick's comment earlier about, you know, if their peace has been made, don't say anything. Let us think the worst. That way, when we do get it on the air, it'll be a welcome surprise. But I look forward to it. I look forward to that Saturday, and seeing how everything plays out, because it'll be definitely interesting. It'll be fun to watch Noah and James try to call the craziness that ensues in those 2 hours. And it'll be fun to talk about it Black Night right after. So we'll see.
And I want him to have 5 minutes on the mic to start it. And
Please.
He doesn't have to go right into anything controversial. Like I think it could be about the show, about business, about his future. But you know he's going to throw some things in, or the facial features. And I'm looking forward to trying to pick that promo apart. If they decide to do that, maybe he comes out and gets jumped by somebody. Like they could go a completely different route. But
it'll be a fun couple of days between open mic night and us on the review the next day, trying to piece it all together and figure out what went down. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
He should come out there and just straight up say, so what do you want me to talk about?
Right.
I mean, that would be funny. Like, you know, I don't think he had any beef with Cody, so that would be a nice little homage there. But, okay, Aaron, over to you. What do you think here?
I hope he does more than just a generic I'm back promo, and then some random lower card guy comes out there and CM Punk faces him first. I want some fireworks. I don't think we're getting a match with CM Punk, but I really think he should wrestle. I think they should go as big as possible for this Collision debut. Like, first impressions, that is really important. I would try to do everything possible to make this the biggest AEW television show in history. Like, I would do CM Punk versus MJF for the world title if it was me. You need a major match that's going to draw in people so they take this show seriously from the get-go and they view it as an A show rather than just Rampage with an extra hour. I think they need to go big or go home for this first show. CM Punk promo, we've seen it. Maybe he teases a heel turn, but I'm really hoping that there's something that they do on that show that is going to firmly establish it and make people expect the unexpected. Like, they tune in and something major happens, and then people are like, man, I got to check out next week. Like, if they just do their regular show, no big angle, it might be a tough sell to get people to watch on Saturday nights regularly. And as far as CM Punk's drawing power goes, I mean, he's definitely a draw. They're not sold out. There was a comment here in the chat room about the ticket sales. They did sell like 700-800 tickets after Punk's return was confirmed. But I think pretty much everybody that bought tickets bought them already. I think they have like 8,000, 9,000 tickets sold, but United Center can fit 15,000 people. Definitely not the same scenario like 2021 where it was an instant sellout. Jeff, something you wanted to add? Or maybe not.
You're muted, Jeff.
Oh, that's camera.
Okay, well, I'll keep going.
Sorry. I was going to say, since they announced Punk, are you going to go, or are you going to just cover from home?
Haven't decided yet. It might be one of those.
He wants that MJF match for the title, man. If he
go.
doesn't get that, he doesn't want to go there just to see a promo.
That's fair.
I think I need more, and it's one of those scenarios where I could buy a ticket the day of the show. It's almost like Madison Square Garden. Like I really want to go to that. I've been wanting to go to a show at Madison Square Garden. That's like one of my bucket list things to do for wrestling.
Yep.
But I want to go when there's a big show. I just don't want to go to a random episode of SmackDown. And even though it is the first Collision, I want to know going in that there's something really significant happening on the show, more than just CM Punk cutting a promo. JJ?
I'm kind of two minds about the whole thing, Harvey Dent style, because you don't want to trot CM Punk out there for a main event match a week before Forbidden Door with All In on the horizon and have him get injured.
Fair.
Oh, no. Well, the thing is,
he seems to be very injury prone in recent years.
Then he should not be coming back. If he cannot do one match and there's too much risk of him getting hurt, he should not be coming back.
I'm just saying maybe you don't want to trot him out there for something like an MJF match, because that's going to have to be a balls to the wall full tilt thing. I kind of like the suggestion in the chat room about CM Punk versus Sting, because you think about Saturday nights and you think about WCW all those years. That would be a nice little nostalgia main event, CM Punk versus Sting the Icon on TNT on Saturday nights, the old Turner Network. You figure when Punk debuted, he went against Darby, was his first person who's Darby's mentor. Go against Sting for the first Collision.
Problem is, I feel like both guys need somebody else in the match to carry it, and I'm not sure that the two of them in there is a good idea. That could cause an injury with those guys in there. Honestly, I think it would be better if you had a younger guy that could carry the match, and there would actually be less risk of an injury. But, we'll see what happens. I am looking forward to the show, but my hype level is definitely not at a 9 or a 10, and I think it needs to be at that level for me to justify making a drive to Chicago. And by the way, people, they might like CM Punk, they might hate him, but there's some interest. And even Josh Mansfield here says he could care less about Punk being back, which means he does care to some degree. Even if you don't like Punk, you do care a little bit. Just wanted to throw that out there. And on that note, I think we're caught up here.
All right. So, Josh Mansfield, don't act like you care about Punk. Don't be the one of those that say I don't care about Punk. Blah, 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 blah,
we said he could care less, which means
he could, which means he could. Yeah. Now, if he said he couldn't care less, which is actually how it goes, guys.
So, but I've seen. Okay, so anybody out there though, we don't want him to come back, and the whole elite fan base and all that. Well, tough titty said the kitty, but CM Punk is still good. He's coming back. The buzz is there. I'm more excited for AEW now because I want to see this play out, and let's see what Tony Khan can do. Props to Tony Khan for bringing Punk back after what happened last year. So,
but by the way, I'm just throwing this out there now. There's now a rumor that Jay White might be a potential opponent, and I just want to say on the record, I have no interest in seeing that match. So if that's the angle, Jay White comes out there, I'm going to be bored.
See, and that's the problem, Aaron. Jay White was great in New Japan with that fan base. He comes over here, and they present him as that same Jay White, and you have to introduce people to the American audience. If he is a character in himself, do vignettes, get people hyped, and like LA Knight.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You would be excited to see LA Knight and CM Punk if they were in the same fed. But why not Jay White? Because they didn't do anything special with him. Tony Khan just brings him in. Hey, our fan base knows who Jay White is, and that's a problem. Like, you know what I mean? Jay White is good, but he's not being presented to this American audience as who is this guy. They don't do that anymore, and if they do, it's poorly. It's done very poorly.
Yeah, he's now Jay switched the channel white.
And it's right. Like, people were so hyped about Jay White possibly going to WWE, possibly wherever he's going, and then he finally shows up somewhere, and it's Excalibur put it over like he was the second coming of Jesus when he first showed up, and it's like, yeah, he's just another guy here now.
And by the way, Jeff, what is
like
this
carrying
whole
cross?
Jeff, what is this
Yes.
whole Bullet Club Gold? Like, what are they? Global Force Gold? What the hell is up with?
I
this?
have no idea, because watching the New Japan show that with Noah last night that I was helping produce and cover, it sounds like there's factions of Bullet Club, because David Finlay, I don't know, but
because they're the new NWO.
I mean,
even the NWO didn't go for 7 or 8 years. Like, how long has the Bullet Club been around? Like, why is it still
their 10th anniversary this year, believe it or not? So, Bullet Club is mainly in Japan now. They do have some guys from Bullet Club in Impact and in Ring of Honor, I believe. But David Finlay is now the quote-unquote official leader of Bullet Club. Jay White and Juice are just kind of this offshoot that the official Bullet Club doesn't recognize. It's like the worst gang war in the history of the American civilization. It's like, I don't understand it. Like, why is it happening? But I don't know.
Yeah,
it was very confusing. Listening to Noah try to explain it to me, I was kind of.
Let me just have Finn Balor, AJ Styles, the OC, and Cody Rhodes go over there and remind them what the Bullet Club is.
There you go. Fergle them all to hell.
Yeah. Anyways, I think we've talked enough about AEW at this point.
We're losing viewers, damn it. But we're talking about CM Punk, and he's always been a point of interest for NoDQ. Yes. So, all right, this next topic. Definitely. So we're going to be talking about Roman Reigns' 1,000-day celebration, the line of merchandise that came out. That's all coming up here in the main event. But before we get there, I always like to do these little type of filler topics every once in a while. I think JJ is going to really like this one too, and everybody. So JJ, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
And we're going to go around the panel, and of course, it's going to be interesting to see what the NoDQ Galaxy says in the chat. But what's your favorite wrestling title of all time? And it can be in any promotion. And most specifically, what era of it? Like, because, like, I'll pull an example. You could do the WWE Championship, but there's different eras of it. So let's be a little specific here. But I have a feeling a lot of it could be going back to our childhoods here. We'll be biased with that. But, JJ, I'm going to put you on the floor first. Okay. Hopefully your mind's not blank here. Lot to choose from. And go.
For me, it always comes down first and foremost to the look of the belt. One of my favorite championships of all time has been the WWF European title. Just something about that title always popped to me when I first got into watching pro wrestling. And then you think about, Owen Hart, Triple H, D'Lo Brown. You think about William Regal. You think about Christian and DDP. And then the other one that I always go back to is the NWA TNA X Division title.
That era.
This one right here.
Yes.
Because you see this title, you think about AJ Styles, you think about Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, Michael Shane.
I'm going to give you that one. JJ, I'm going to give you that one because TNA kind of got that X Division thing like really going. I mean, I know WCW Cruiserweight, but there was really nothing like it until the X Division after that. But like the European Championship, really, like I just looked at that as the filler belt that Shawn won, and then he gave it to Triple H or however that. Yeah. I mean, I get it. It was a mid-card title. It was like a Sunday Night Heat title, but I'm shocked that that's one.
The storylines may not have always been the greatest in that division, but again, first getting into the company and everything, you got to remember when I came in around the summer of '98, the WWF title was either the Smoking Skull or the Big Eagle. The IC was that ovally thing, but the European title just kind of popped to me. It stood out a little bit different. So it drew my eyes right away.
Gotcha. And you did say you like the way they look. And I'm not at to me, it's like people care about what titles look like when I think it should only revolve around who's carrying it and what they do with it. But again, I'm not one of those that's going to buy these titles to have. So I don't care what they're not going to be hanging up in my house or whatever. So that's probably why I'm don't care about the way they look, but I get it. I get you like the look of that title, and it's one that you thought of when I brought that topic up. So fair enough.
It's honestly the first one I thought of because I don't think the European title gets enough love when it comes to people discussing belt design and everything. So I wanted to try to make sure I stood out from the pack because I know Jeff's probably going to talk about the Winged Eagle. You know, I know the NWA 10 pounds of gold is probably going to get brought up. Yeah. I know Jeff. I've lived with him long enough. I know his
Jeff
belt.
Next because I figured that's what he's going to talk about. But all right, Jeff.
So I just wanted to try to give. I wanted to try to give something else.
Jeff likes the Winged Eagle. He likes the big gold belt, and he likes the NWA 10 pounds of gold.
But Jeff, what is your favorite one? Go.
See, now I'm on the spot because all three of those designs had great eras, right? Like they all had tremendous champions. I have to go with the Winged Eagle in that case, and only because it was the first championship belt I saw, or title. Sorry, Vince. Don't want to piss off the old man. Figure when I started watching professional wrestling, yes, the Warrior was champion, and that was what it was looking back. But even then, I wasn't a Warrior fan. I always gravitated toward Hulk. So for me, the Winged Eagle is definitely my favorite. But Virtue makes a good point as far as lineage goes, as far as who carried those titles. The NWA Championship, the 10 pounds, and the big gold are definitely a dead heat for me in terms of lineage because the Winged Eagle had very few different people hold it. Whereas, actually the 10 pounds and the big gold actually also had a select few, but I feel like there's more prestige with wrestling fans of, with nostalgia with people like Harley and Dusty and Flair and the Funks and going to the big gold era, Sting and Dusty again, and Ron Garvin, whatever, Ricky Steamboat, all these wonderful wrestlers held the NWA Championship. So for a look wise, definitely the Winged Eagle will always be my favorite. It's the first one I actively sought out and bought online the minute they released a replica of it. But lineage, the NWA is, I think, for me, superior.
All right, well, fair enough. Now, for me, Aaron, I'm not going to say, the new WWE title because the big WWE, and they put it on the champion they want to represent them, and it's the same belt, just different colors. I could go that route to really get under people's skin, and I'm not going to because that's not when I think of title belt, that's always meant something to me. Go back to that Winged Eagle belt. I knew that was the main title, but it was never that one that I liked. It was that 80s and early 90s Intercontinental Championship, because you saw the wrestlers that had it for the most part end up in the world title picture. I mean, Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. That to me, and the people that should have been pushed up there and never in WWE never were, Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect. That title to me, and again, it's biased going back to my childhood.
No, you're right.
But that to me is still, and it meant something. It was that mid-card title. They got to the main event with it. Even Mr. Perfect never won, but he got big matches because he was the Intercontinental Champion. He was always one of the last two in a Royal Rumble or two with Hulk Hogan. Yeah. And there's something about that era of the Intercontinental Championship that just hits right with me. And, of course, ever since, it's kind of like blah. But maybe Gunther is bringing it back in that right direction, even though it looks different. But that's my pick. Yeah. Now over to you, Aaron.
Oh, okay.
Well, I have to agree with you. I'm going to have to pull a big G and just piggyback off what you said.
I thought maybe you would. That's why I wanted to go before you did.
I know, exactly. I mean, for the same reasons, like, first of all, I'm not really into the championships that much. I've never purchased the title, and nothing wrong with purchasing one. Like, they are cool, but just wasn't my cup of tea. I really like the titles that were utilized while I was growing up. And it's not so much the title design, but the actual title reigns and the matches associated with those runs. That's what I remember. Like, when there's 20 title changes, I don't care what the title looks like. It's just not as memorable to me. But when I can remember the actual people that held the titles and I can remember key matches and such, that's when it actually means something to me, and there's actual emotional attachment to it. Jeff?
And Aaron, that IC title, there were more great matches in that era than WWE Championship match. Like, if you look at, because of the people involved.
Yeah. And Virtue, you and I talk about how much we revere Bobby Heenan so much. The Intercontinental title of that era was the first singles gold, first gold period Bobby got his hands on the WWF with Rude and then with Perfect. So it's definitely up there for me.
And to your point, Aaron, I think that's another reason why I gravitate towards the European title. It was the first title I ever saw change hands live. Going to that Raw the night after WrestleMania 2000, watching Eddie Guerrero take the title away from Chris Jericho.
Might have been
just won it the night before.
Now that you mention that might have been the first title change I ever saw too. I'm trying to think if I had seen any. Were there any at the '99 Royal Rumble?
Well, this is before that, but
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think.
After that. 99, Mankind and The Rock.
Okay, well there you go. So that was the first title change that I saw.
That was a rough title change to have to live through.
Yeah, but you know, I actually really like the classic Intercontinental title, and they even brought it back years later. They had Cody Rhodes out there with it, and you know, that was cool. Like I'm glad they brought that back, and I actually cared about it a little bit when they brought it back, even though the title had been watered down so badly.
Virtue made a great point earlier about Gunther being prestige back. I argued last night he's the best champion of this century since the year 2000.
And it's an old school gimmick, like that heel foreign, that bad guy that with the sidekick, even though it's not a manager, but he's talking for him, and it's in the foreign accent, like that. That's just classic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I do agree with Caleb and everybody that said this on our shows and all the other shows. He may be the one to break Honky Tonk's record. It's been there for so long now, over 35 years. So it's time.
I think the Raw before he breaks the record, he needs to face off against the Honky Tonk Man.
Oh, God, don't bring him back on television. Jesus Christ, Jay.
I just think it would be a great moment, and I could see WWE going for that nostalgia pop. Well, will the Honky Tonk Man stop Gunther from taking away his title reign?
If the Honky Tonk Man becomes Intercontinental Champion in 2023, all the prestige talk I've said for the last year will go completely in the commode. Every bit of it. Oh, my God.
Back to that IC title, Aaron, Razor Ramon, Goldust, other people had. I mean, it went into the almost mid-90s.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. The list goes on. But Psycho Jet Black brought up another name. This was later on after they changed the design. Rob Van Dam, former Intercontinental Champion. I wasn't a big fan of that design, but there were some good memories with that one. He says, hey, Jeff, can you do the RVD thumb pointing?
Yep.
Rob Van Dam. There you go. He pulled it off.
But what about this one?
Yeah, that's the one he wants.
Oh, okay.
I have one he wants, but I have a picture of Rob and Aaron and I. Rob's doing this pose, so it counts.
It does count. All right. Anyways,
try, guys.
I like the Intercontinental title from 1985 to when was it? 98.
98. Yeah, because The Rock was the first oval Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah. And then
you know what else I have a soft
classic
spot?
Winged Eagle too.
Yes.
I have a soft spot too for the late 80s, early 90s WWF Tag Team Championship as well.
Hell yeah.
Like that would almost be my compliment to the Intercontinental title.
Yep.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, remember the world title was so. I mean, it was the championship that up until Brett got it, the Winged Eagle was pretty much okay. These are our attractions.
Yeah.
Figure Hogan, Andre for about 5 minutes, DiBiase if it actually counted, Savage. Savage was a great working wrestler, but he was, but by that point he was more of an attraction. He just could carry the load. Then Warrior, Lee, Slaughter, Undertaker. That first year he was in the WWF, he was still very, he was definitely more of an attraction than he was a superstar at that point. Flair had it though, so there was that.
Now, Jeff, the title that Austin got in '98, that's called the Big Eagle. Is that what
the one that he ripped out of Vince's hands after WrestleMania is called the Big Eagle, and then I guess
like that one.
Yeah, they call the 02 one that who the hell got that? Hunter got it first. Is like the Undisputed Eagle, I guess, for lack of a better term. That one was okay, but it seemed very like, yeah, I wasn't a fan of that compared to the other two they had before. So,
yeah. All right. Dr. Scorpio sent in a $5.50 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, what about Gunther versus Dragunov 3 for the IC record at stake?
I'm here for that.
Yeah, why not?
I'm here for that. Ilya Dragunov is overdue anyway for a call up. Let's do it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I finally finished the Battleground pay-per-view. They're not tall, but Dragunov and Tyler Bates should be on the main roster.
Yeah,
bottom line.
So good. Decent show, much better than I anticipated it would be. I'm glad that JJ and Noah got the call on the on-demand stuff, because that was too good not to have showcased in some way on our channel. So.
Yep. And yeah, I think I said my piece on the titles.
All right, and here we go. We're gonna talk about the Bloodline and Roman Reigns yet again. And I was talking with Aaron. I'm like, where is this merchandise? Like, and they did wait pretty much until SmackDown, until Friday. We got not just 1, 2, but 3 different Bloodline shirts, 1,000 day, shirts for Roman, and a jacket. So you got 4 pieces of merchandise. And they did the segment on SmackDown, and of course, there's still a rift. The Usos are still on the outside looking in, specifically Jimmy. They're putting a question mark on where will Jay fall in line. If you noticed at the end, SmackDown was getting ready to go off the air. You heard Roman say Jay will fall in line. He always does. So that drama is still out there unfolding. I mean, this is great stuff. You had Roman Reigns coming out and just people booing him now. I mean, literally, I don't know if this isn't going to be NWO, and Wolfpack. It's the Bloodline. We're probably going to see some family members at some point. Plus, there's a new title belt. So, Jeff, that's why I wanted to talk about title belts.
Yes.
Because, as soon as that belt was revealed, which is very gold, but it looks exactly like the other belts that Roman had, I'm fine with it, with Roman having it. Like, it fits him. When you see him holding it backstage, it works for him. Like, look at what The Rock, his cousin, debuted back whenever it was the new style big WWE belt. I don't have a problem with it. And I see fans like getting all bent out of shape. Josh Mansfield writing a column about it. Like, come on, they're just title belts. But nonetheless, there's a lot to unpack there, Jeff.
Yes.
But the moral of the story is, looks like they're going to 1 belt now for Roman's championship. We know what Seth Rollins has, so I don't expect Roman to have 3 titles carrying around now, although that would be funny.
Yeah.
What's your whole thoughts on all of this, specifically the Jimmy and Jay stuff? Bloodline implosion. I mean, continuing.
It's but before I get to the Bloodline stuff, again, the belt, it is what it is, guys. It looks better in pictures with Roman that I think Paul posted backstage. Like, I guess the stage lighting makes it look much more mustardy yellow, because it actually looks decent in pictures backstage. And the replica doesn't look quite as that ugly mustard yellow color. Like, I hate taxi cabs when they look, because it's just that ugly mustard color. The belt looks a little bit better than that, at least in different pictures. On stage, in the ring, it looked pretty bad. Storyline wise, I'm happy that they're continuing and they didn't just dump it all in our laps right now and, okay, this is it, process it and move on. It's like, no, they're continuing to make us wait, which is what brings us to our television screens every Friday night. I was telling the guys yesterday, and when we were doing our simple take of Night of Champions on Noah's channel, I usually on Fridays, I'm either taking Dylan up to his mother's or I'm working. I'm not doing the work thing for a few weeks. I'm genuinely gleeful that I get to watch SmackDown in real time, because I'm compelled to watch. And that's what the Bloodline's done the last 3 years, is make us want to watch. The fact that the rise and fall of the Bloodline was a highlight package video that still took almost 2 hours on YouTube, that shows you how deep they've gone with this story. And I am so happy as a WWE fan that they've found something that we can still cling on to even almost 3 years in. The one thing as a wrestling trivia / history guy that does concern me is, if they're going to 1 belt and they're claiming 1,000 days, have we lost the 60-year lineage of the WWE Championship? Because that will bum me out as a fan, because I hold that title in such high regard, because it was the first world championship I ever saw as part of my fandom. to go to Aaron, when you bring up Psycho's super chat later, I'll address it more. But we did talk about that open mic night as well as far as the belts. I think the story is great. I'm definitely interested in where it goes from here because I don't think it's going to end at Money in the Bank. I don't even think it's going to end. The overall story is going to end with JJ's theory about Cody winning in the Garden. I think we're going to have the story continue on whether he's champion or not, because now it's more about Roman made a decision. Solo made his decision. Jimmy has taken his stand. Where does Jay lie? Will he fall in line or will he stay with his brother? Because Solo clearly chose his own way.
And remember, Jeff, there's a couple things here. Jimmy was out when the Bloodline first formed, and it was Roman and Jay doing their thing.
Yep.
So, and think about it. They might want to add somebody new, but they didn't want it to get to a bigger faction and start just having it get bigger.
No.
Because that's been known to water down factions. So maybe this is because now Jimmy and Jay can bring in we'll have the whole drama play out with Jay. Right. Then they can bring in somebody, and then Roman can get somebody, and you're like, oh my God, what is going on with this family?
Yeah, I mentioned on Saturday, as long as the Anawahis keep producing babies, we got this story for decades. Yep. I mean, really, it's true though. So you've got a couple of them in MLW, you've got a couple of them throughout the Indies, and the Rock's daughter, however green she still is right there in developmental. So,
and hey, somebody in the chat was saying, "Oh, that new title looks like the McDonald's championship." Dude, you could have a McDonald's, a Burger King, a Carl's Jr. championship belt, and Roman can hold it up, and it's instant awesome. That's all I'm going to say. Anything else you want to add, Jeff, before I move it over?
No, I'm good. I'm good, brother.
All right, JJ, you're on the floor here.
I understand Josh's concern. When you take a look at an image like that and you see how every championship looks the same now.
Yeah.
I can understand the disdain of some people, but again, at the end of the day, it's a business. Mm-hmm. And if you can look me in the eyes and tell me that people aren't going to go out there and buy the new championship that Roman Reigns was presented, then you're a fool, because Roman Reigns is a needle mover. He's a draw. He's a merch seller. Just by him holding that belt in his hand, by putting it around his waist, it is going to sell.
Yep.
So again, like, I'm on both sides of this debate because I understand why so many people are like, man, you didn't give us a new title. You just gave us a different color. We expected something different, something new, something unique, something even along the lines of like the Smoking Skull. If you're going to design a title specifically for Roman, then make it something different, something unique.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, Roman is Roman. And like Jeff pointed out, whether he is champion or not, this story still has so many layers to it. Mm-hmm. And that's the beautiful part of it. Roman really, at this point, no longer needs the belt for the story to be entertaining. He doesn't. He could lose the belt tomorrow at a house show, and the story is still going to be captivating. They're still going to do ratings.
Yep.
Period. And like Jeff pointed out, you've got Ava Raine in developmental. You still got Tamina Snuka, who ain't doing jack diddly shit on the roster, that can get factored into this somewhere.
Fair point.
Yep.
You bring both of those two into the Bloodline. Now you got a women's tag team. Can actually go after the women's tag team titles.
Or a woman on each side of this fracture.
That too.
Hey, they got options. They're getting the TV time. They're drawing it out, but not drawing it out too bad. I mean, so, wrestling fans want rewarded right away.
Oh, no, I'm good.
No,
you don't want to, yeah.
No, I'm a big proponent of long-term storytelling. And the fact that this thing has been building for 3 years, you can't get much more long-term in this modern day and age.
Nope.
That's what makes this storyline stand out. That's what makes me acknowledge the tribal chief every time I hear his music.
Hell yes.
I'll be scrolling through my phone and Instagram reels, and it'll be one of these little haha videos about, WrestleMania 2083 and Roman Reigns has defeated the Justice League and Goku and all this stuff. 1, 2, 3, and his music starts playing. Just put the finger up, damn it.
I'll put it this way. For the longest time when I would go to Disney as a guest or a cast member, I would see a few wrestling shirts sprinkled even now because it was still a cool thing. We saw 3 different Bloodline shirts on Memorial Day when I was there Monday.
Nice.
So
yeah, and now we're going to see 1,000 day shirts.
Yep, yeah. Exactly.
And I know I'm not the only one on this panel that's got a 1,000-day shirt in their shopping cart on WWE Shop right now. It's just a matter of waiting for that YouTube money to drop to pull the trigger.
That's right. That's it.
There's a nice jacket on there too. That little sports jacket like Roman likes to wear.
Tracksuit's a little out of the price range, even with the Disney.
I can give me 2 shirts for the price of the track jacket.
Hats to come. Oh man, let's see. But hey, they did wait till the last minute, but I was expecting one shirt. They did a whole merch line. Classic
WWE, and we knew they would.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Once that day was in sight, Virtue, we all talked about it in this room. It's like, dude, when are they going to hit the trigger?
Dude, I had people tweeting me the links to the shop when they were dropping because I was working and they knew I was waiting for it. And so Friday was fun checking my phone, and like every 10 minutes a new one would come in, and I was like, oh, up, they're listing them all up one at a time here.
Yep.
So, JJ, like to me, it's just, I mean, Roman, he's the guy. The drama is revolving around him. You're making something out of the rest of his family. People are interested.
Yep.
He's the champ. Does he have to have it? No. Could Cody beat him? Yeah. That feud with the Bloodline is still going to continue. So let's see how this all plays out. Yeah.
Put it to you this way, Virtue. 2 of Roman's biggest detractors in the multiverse that me and Jeff have here, Noah and James, both acknowledged him on open mic night. They had no choice after the 1,000-day celebration.
And look, there is a thing, like wrestling fans want, like during this whole run, they want 250 title defenses. And it's just not that much. Like, look at your top heavyweight boxers. They fight 6 times a year. Your top UFC fighters, they fight 6 times a year. Roman, I mean, they're treating it like that, right? So he doesn't have all these title defenses. And I mean, should he defend it like more often? Yeah, like just like not defending it since WrestleMania is weird. But it also does create, when he does defend it next, it's even a bigger deal. As weird as that sounds, it's like, oh my God, he's just building days because they're having the title matches so few and far between. But if it is him and Cody at SummerSlam, we're going to be like, oh my God, this is the time. Is he going to lose? And the drama from WrestleMania is going to be all there again that night. So I don't have a problem with the way they did it and the minimal matches. I mean, he's still beating a lot of big names.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it either to a certain extent. I just wish he would defend it more at some of these international shows.
Yes.
Backlash in Puerto Rico. Should have had him defending it.
Even a
Night
random
of Champions in Saudi
should
have been defending it. SummerSlam obviously is a big 4, needs to defend it there. Money in the Bank, and then whatever jabroni pay-per-view comes after SummerSlam here stateside that's not international. Yeah, give him that one off. Yeah. But all these international shows, you need him defending it. That's my only downside of that.
He should have defended in Puerto Rico.
And they're doing the thing, well, he's beat everybody. He's beat Brock Lesnar multiple times. There's just we got to wait for the right opponent. Like, that's how they're trying to say why they don't just give him challengers. But, and I get it. That's why they brought the title for Seth Rollins. He's defending it on Raw already, right?
And the house show this weekend.
And that's what the fans want. And there you go. So you have that.
But, Virtue, you make a great point. And the comment here from Matthew. Not defending it as often draws us in it. We want to buy. Aaron said it himself. He's waiting to see what they say about the Garden Show. He's wanted to go to a Garden Show his whole life, bucket list item, but he doesn't want to go just because they happen to be at the Garden. Aaron wants that title match announced or something captivating. We don't want to go to watch CM Punk. We want to go to watch CM Punk do something.
Right.
Not just cut a promo. We don't want to go to New York to watch SmackDown, even though it's the Garden. The Garden will always be the Garden, as Vince Sr. said. We want to see a captivating, this is the reason I'm watching it here live instead of watching it at home on Fox.
Yep. Okay, Aaron, over to you now. And I know there's some super chats to catch up on. So Here we go.
All right, Psycho Jet Black sent in a few, so we'll go through these. First of all, the funny one. Psycho Jet Black sent in $2, says McDonald's title more credible than the TNT title.
And somebody followed up with TBS title is more credible, and they're right from both accounts.
Yep.
I'd say the national hot dog eating title has more credibility than the TNT title at this point. Joey Chestnut regularly defends it every year.
That's right.
I mean, how many years has he been on top?
Dude, and the last one he did, he chokeholded somebody that stormed on stage.
Yes, that was a boss move there.
He's a badass.
As he was eating.
That's
great.
Yep, kept right on going. But yeah, the TBS title, especially with the way they finally got the loss on Jade, and it was Chris Statlander after all this wait, that was a cool moment. The TNT title, great, interesting outing from Wardlow, was a cool, spot moment, but nowhere near as prestigious as it could have been with Cody there, with Scorpio Sky, even with Sammy holding it. I'm kind of like, whatever about it now.
We do have another super chat here from Psycho Jet Black, and Jeff had touched on it earlier. Yes. Do you agree with Russo that the titles are just props? I mean, Jeff, they are props, but they're props that can be used to draw money, and I think Russo just didn't really think of it that way. Like, he literally just thought that they were props. But I mean, WWE can make money from the replica titles, and if you make the titles important, people will spend money, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I pointed this out last night on the Night, I think it was. I was talking about the fact that prior to Gunther becoming Intercontinental Champion and prior to Roman's run here, both those titles were just kind of like, oh, okay, they're part of the presentation. People are invested in Roman, and people are invested as fans in the Intercontinental Championship. So they're not just props anymore. And we all ragged on the IC title design when it was first introduced, and didn't give it enough love at the time. People are like clamoring over themselves to go get that replica because it means so much now because of people like Gunther holding it. Yep. It's all about the person, not the title, folks.
Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says Joey Chestnut versus Bart Gunn in a hot dog eating contest. Now, wait a minute. Wasn't there a hot dog eating contest at some point on Raw or SmackDown? Like, who were the participants? Sure, Otis, maybe?
Yeah, it was recent enough where it wouldn't have been Bart Gunn, but it was. I think Otis was in there. It sounds right.
Yeah, like I'd like to see Otis versus Joey Chestnut in a hot dog eating contest. There you go.
There you go. Early XMV Jeff Meacham would have been good for a Joey Chestnut hot dog match. Me now, not so much.
Yeah. All right, Psycho Jet Black sent in another $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, seriously, for the longest time, it felt like it was face Roman and no one else. Now they have a great mid-card and undercard with heel Roman at the top.
Exactly. Think about how long we were clamoring for Roman to be that guy that we wanted him to be, but everybody underneath it was just kind of there. Now he's been on top for 3 years. He's been that bad guy, and we have a solid middle of the card and even opening the shows that people are, at some point during the 3 hours of Raw or 2 hours of SmackDown, they're invested in some part of the show. So,
yeah, I agree with that for sure. Roman Reigns really turned it around in 2020, and I'm glad in a way that the pandemic happened, because I don't know if we would have gotten this Tribal Chief storyline if there was no pandemic.
No, I don't think we would have either. And it was a week after he returned. SummerSlam title change went down, then he was champion a week later. So,
and I don't know how many times I needed to say that Roman, let him be himself without handcuffs on. When everybody Roman got booed and he couldn't get pushed, people didn't like the push as a babyface. And did that not happen? Did that not? Yeah. I know it took Paul Heyman in the mix to let WWE do that with Roman, but he's clearly been able to hold his own with no handcuffs on, where people find him interesting now.
And you know what now, Virtue? It's funny to look back on that now because they had him handcuffed for so long that when they took the gloves off, man, he's ran with it. What if they'd unhandcuffed John Cena in 06, 07, even 08, man? What could have been?
Or even as late as like 2012 when the Kane storyline was going on, the Rise Above Hate.
Yep. And then because he followed up with the thing with The Rock. Imagine if he had flipped that switch and they did a double turn where Rock came out being babyface, even though he was kind of whatever either side at that point. But John came out definitive bitter heel. That would have been such compelling.
And remember,
shit.
Cena was a heel before he was a big star, right? And Roman Reigns was a heel with the Shield. So technically, but it was after they were known to be the company guys. Turn heel then, that's what the fans wanted, and Roman got it. Roman got it.
And I agree with Matthew. Take the cuff off Bianca now too. Now that she's lost the title, let her have a run as a heel, please.
Her and Montez, they could be a power couple.
Seriously, just drop Angelo. I like Angelo, but drop him like a bad habit and have them go on a power trip reign. Seriously though, just have Montez and Bianca just go through everybody. That's what I would do.
I mean, I think it's definitely time, and you see what happened with Roman. But yeah, as far as the title goes, it doesn't really bother me. Like I said earlier, I'm not that invested in the titles, and I totally agree with what Jeff said. I think that the title looks better in professional photos backstage than it does in the ring. It kind of does look like a mustard title, but it doesn't really bother me. I'm not losing sleep over it. I think the real focus is now the bloodline falling apart. Jimmy Uso being kicked out of the group, and now is Jay going to stay with Jimmy, or is he going to stay loyal to Roman Reigns? And we can argue, should Roman Reigns still be the champion? I'm going to trust that they have a plan here, and they feel for whatever reason, and it's more than just the 1,000 days and selling merchandise, but maybe they felt like for Roman Reigns to have the most heat here with these matches, the title should be on the line. Maybe Jimmy tries to take that title from Roman Reigns. Maybe Jey Uso tries to take that title from Roman Reigns. Yes, Jey already fought Roman, but that was at the beginning of the storyline. And now there's been so much history with them, Jey versus Roman for the title. That symbolizes who's the head of the table. So you got Jimmy trying to perhaps become the new head of the table. Maybe Jey Uso tries to become the new head of the table. Maybe Solo Sikoa. So in a way, you could argue that the title should stay with Roman Reigns, and they made the right decision to not have Cody win it. I mean, time will tell. We'll see how things play out, where they go with all this. But, I mean, you got 3 big matches, and you could argue that the world title being on the line elevates these matches more than if it was just Jay versus Roman non-title or Jimmy versus Roman non-title. So I'm going to trust the process that they know what they're doing here. And Jeff?
I said a question. There was some people in the chat room talking about, the Survivor Series going back to champion versus champion. For me, I'm interested more, and maybe I'm probably on my own little island of whatever you want to call it here, but I'm more interested in Cody and Seth, not renewing their rivalry necessarily, but having that match, both of them as champions at Survivor Series. And then Roman still being involved with the Bloodline storyline, but not being the champion, because we've seen Roman and Seth on pay-per-view PLE during this championship run for Roman. I'm good on seeing them, even if they're both champions. Cody versus Seth, both as champions, intrigues me more. So how then we don't have to necessarily turn Cody if he becomes champion. It might be a refreshing change, but I have to see a few people ask about the Survivor Series, and I figured, okay, let's just throw it out there and see what people think.
Well, if it's champion versus champion at Survivor Series, we might have Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul again. I'm just saying.
I mean, that's a fair point. Remember's a long way away, so.
But I mean, I feel like Virtue might be right about Roman and WrestleMania 40. If it's not Cody, and I'm starting to think it's not going to be Cody and Roman at SummerSlam. I think there's a very good chance now Roman is champion until WrestleMania 40. I don't see Jay or Jimmy beating him for the title. I'm sure they're going to do those matches, but I don't see either of them beating him. I think there's a better chance of Solo than either Jimmy or Jay. If not Cody, I think Solo could end up being the guy, kind of like a Batista role where he's been so loyal to Roman, but eventually he has enough of Roman and breaks away from him, and they push Solo as a massive babyface. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting. I mean, I'm definitely intrigued. I mean, I'm not like it's just going to be boring with Roman as champion. Like, I'm definitely invested in the storyline to see where they go with it.
Yep.
And we do have one more super chat here from Psycho Jet Black. Says, who else needs a face or heel turn in WWE and AEW? Well, we did mention Bianca Belair and Montez Ford, which I'm definitely in favor of. I think LA Knight should go babyface. I know he's technically a heel and they're fighting it right now, but the crowd is just loving that guy. I say let him be a fan favorite. Anybody else got an idea for face or heel turns? I mean, CM Punk going heel. Bam. There you go. JJ?
It might be controversial, but I'd like to see Darby Allin just come out there one night and drop Steen and go full-blown heel.
There you go.
Kind of go like to the dark side.
There you go. I don't know how much it would do for his credibility at this point, but a heel Wardlow with Arn as his second seems more intriguing to me than this babyface nonsense he's doing right now. You know, Arn's always been a better heel than a babyface anyway, even if he is the old seasoned grizzled veteran. Looking more like old everyday Arn. Sorry, I love you, but it is what it is.
Oh,
just yeah. I think Arn would be better suited, and Wardlow would be better suited with the heel role. But again, the title, I think him having the title drags them both down, the title and him, if that makes any sense. I think he needs to be doing something different.
I think one person really needs to turn babyface, and everything will get smoothed over. Mr. Tito.
There you go.
Mr. Tito needs to turn babyface. That's the only guy.
Take off that damn mask.
That's right.
That's the only one I can think of. I mean,
we need to know the real person behind Mr. Tito. That's what I think.
I mean, me on Twitter, it's never going to happen. Like, nobody would buy it, but I think he could pull it off.
Yeah, he could.
I'd also like to see a Matt Riddle heel turn.
Ooh,
yeah. There we go.
Yeah,
that's it right there.
And maybe Pretty Deadly with a face turn, because I really like those two guys anyway. I see a huge potential with them. I think it would be a lot better seeing them as funny baby faces than heels.
Yeah, boy.
So two things. Josh, you care enough to comment about Tito, so clearly you do. And also, Virtue turning babyface on Twitter would be like Mr. McMahon turning face in 1999. Like, no, sorry, we're not buying it.
It would be me signing off for the last time. That would be it.
Right, that's it. That'd be the ultimate babyface turn. I'm gone. I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Aaron, anything else? I think we're wrapped up.
I think we're all caught up, and yeah, looking forward to the coming weeks and what they're going to do for Money in the Bank. Should be some fun times, and make sure you guys stay tuned to NoDQ for the latest.
I know. I hope some interesting things happen here going forward. So we're not always talking about CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Bloodline. Hopefully, we can get some other things going in this discussion. You know, Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar. You know, guys like that. Some of the females again. We try to mix it up, but we really go by what the big things happen each week. So if you ever have ideas, NoDQ Galaxy, what you want us to talk about based on the relevancy of wrestling, tweet us, email Aaron. You know, whatever.
Comment on YouTube.
Yep.
We struggle with that sometimes on open mic night too. We had a whole conversation last night about the baby fever hitting wrestling with Carmella, Alexa Bliss, and Ty Conti all getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Except Ty Conti. That's Asuka's fault that we know of.
Asuka is the fraternity goddess.
Fertility goddess, yes. Fertility goddess, yes. That's okay. Fraternity works.
Let's go around and do our plugs. JJ Williams, it's always a pleasure to have you on. I'll start with you.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here, Virtue. Thank you for having me. You can always find me on Instagram, the Renegade JJ Williams, Twitter, ROWJJ Williams, YouTube, Casa D18 Studios. I do have a members only exclusive section now on the Casa D18 Studios YouTube channel. I've got about 6 subscribers. No, not like that. Not like that, no.
YouTube, no.
It's got about 6 subscribers so far, and basically that's where I put all my exclusive wrestling content. Since my main reel, my main hook is movie reviews, I have a lot of people that ask me to do wrestling stuff again, so starting to post like wrestling DVD reviews over there, watching the old WWE DVDs that come out, reviewing them. Me and Noah just did our Battleground watch along for exclusive members over there. So it's pretty cool.
Good having you on, man. And with Jeff, you and Jeff, the tandem there. So Jeff, over to you.
Aaron, it's funny. JJ mentioned the member section next year for the. Well, I'll go and do my plug first, I guess, real quick. This is all coming up on the Multiverse this week. JJ's movie reviews. He's continuing his Johnny Depp month that he started on Friday, and the Michael J. Fox movie/documentary about his battle with Parkinson's still will be released Saturday. Check out Aaron's coverage of Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown this week. Dad's Tomorrow will be live for the first time in forever. Seriously. Top 10 must-see moments of the Monday Night War. That's tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific, just before Raw. Tuesday, of course, Talk Wrestling back at its normal time slot for now. Greg Cherry Show on Wednesday. Aaron, part of JJ's Throwback Thursday entry this week is part 2 of our hour with Rob Van Dam that we posted, 15 years ago. It's crazy. And then we're covering Impact Friday night with Against All Odds and Open Mic Night next Saturday. But JJ's member section next year, and for the 20th anniversary, he and Noah are going to call the entirety of the Sunday Night Heat broadcast and the pay-per-view of Over the Edge 99.
Ooh,
so definitely be interesting to have a 25-year yet later perspective on all that and see how things shake out. I've never seen the show the whole way through, and apparently
I've never watched that. That after that night, I watched it that night. I never went back and watched that show, any of the matches.
I don't know if I'd want to go back and watch it.
Well,
I didn't watch it that night. It was before I was getting like pay-per-views on a regular, so I actually had gone on to eBay back in the day and bought somebody's VHS that they recorded that had news briefs after the show. Watched it, and that was the only time I ever watched it, was after getting that. But I felt, I saw the social media posts going around a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, about the anniversary of that tragedy. And it's like 25 years, and it's something that's never really been gone in depth with me, Jeff, so going to be interesting to go back and relive that.
Yeah. Aaron, I know you covered it on www.wcw.com back then, but there's never been like a real deep, and again, you don't want to go too deep on that stuff very often, but it is a significant space of time, that's passed on. So I'm curious to see what the perspective will be. Jay, you never haven't seen the show that night. I saw bits. I didn't watch the show. I was at a friend's house, didn't see that show.
And Noah's never seen the show either.
Noah's never seen the show.
He's going to be going in completely blind.
Wow.
Yeah,
and he knows what happened,
right?
But he's never actually seen the matches from that night.
And even going into a show cold, that there's a significant story development because of the Undertaker becoming the champion during the whole corporate ministry thing. So it's interesting to see and look back on perspective all these years later, because man, the greater power thing had so much potential, and it just went over like at the end of it. So I'm curious to see people's perspectives on it now.
Yeah. And think about that, I know me and Jeff have talked about that a couple times, but the Ministry of Darkness Devil Undertaker became champion the night that Owen Hart died.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
serious, it didn't dawn on me until I was getting everything together for that show.
Yeah.
Just
yeah. And
very crazy.
I didn't know this, that Owen's match would have been the second match of the night. I didn't know how the card was laid out. So that being the second match, the whole decision to not stop the show really makes me think a lot different now than it did back then. So
was there a pay-per-view the night that Chris Benoit tragedy happened?
Yes, no. Vengeance Night of Champions.
What title changes happened that night? Anything?
Oh yeah.
So he was supposed to win the ECW championship in a tournament final against Punk. But because he was sick or Nancy had food poisoning or whatever the excuse he handed the office, they plugged Johnny Nitro in, and that's how John Morrison evolved.
Was there other title matches on that show? Anything significant?
Not a change, but they had that five-way.
I was just saying if Undertaker was on that show and won something. Okay.
That would have been interesting.
No, yeah, right. I will say there was that five-way cluster that Mick Foley was involved in for the WWE Championship with Cena, Lashley, and a couple other people. It was a mess, but no Undertaker on that show, thankfully.
Okay. All right, Aaron, go ahead. Last minute.
Okay, Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Says, besides Virtue, you guys excited for Bray Wyatt returning?
No,
Not really, unfortunately.
I'm only because I'll believe it when I see it, and I'll believe it when the story makes me want to.
I mean, like Virtue said, if he comes out there and he's changing it up and doing something different, I might be intrigued. But if he's just coming back to do the same thing, like I'm kind of checked out mentally with it.
Yeah, and they kept teasing Alexa's involvement with it, with her seeing him but not really seeing him. But now she's going to be gone for at least a year. So.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a shame, unfortunately, but yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Not really feeling it at this point, which is just unfortunate because when he came back, like there was all this buzz and excitement about him being back, and I don't want him to come back as the Fiend for sure.
No,
like
definitely not.
Tony Luke brought that up. I don't see that happening, nor do I think it's really a good idea at this point.
Nope. I was more intrigued when he came out and was talking like Wyndham, but had that darkness of his personality still trying to come out. But otherwise,
Yeah, and they really dropped the ball with the whole Uncle Howdy thing. Like I would have been interested in seeing Bray Wyatt versus Uncle Howdy and let Uncle Howdy do more of the supernatural stuff, and Bray Wyatt is trying to fight off this evil force that keeps trying to tempt him to do bad things. Like I thought that was interesting, and then they never really followed it up. Like it just became Uncle Howdy being his sidekick and bump taker. Like
that would have been
what I wanted it to be.
That would have been a better pitch black match than him and LA Knight, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, if anything, that like I said, that storyline got me more interested in LA Knight than Bray Wyatt.
And you know what? I've always been a believer in LA Knight, so I'm glad that
Going
that
back for years. Like he was in the championship from Hollywood wrestling.
Yep, with Percy. Yep, God.
What was that, like a decade ago or close to a decade ago?
Oh,
like
Percy died 10 years ago. Yeah, so it was at least that.
Yeah, so it was like 2012.
Yeah, I think his main run with Hollywood was 2020. I know he and Cage were a tag team prior to that, and the other little territories out with the NWA, but he really came into his own when Cage left, and it was just him and Perce for a while. So, but anyway.
All right, so we're caught up, Virch.
All right. Make sure you go to nodq.com/merch and check out all the merch. And coming up here in 4th of July, maybe there'll be some new shirts up there. Stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter if you dare at NoDQ_Virtue. Shout out to Robbie Weiss, Jargo, Colin, all the crew of the NoDQ Review, past, present, and future. For Aaron Rift, for Jeff Meacham, for JJ Williams, I am Virtue, the moderator. We will see you again next time, NoDQ Galaxy. Have a good evening.